everyone! Welcome back to our plot series. Last time we talked about the exposition, the beginning of a story where we meet the characters, discover the setting and learn some background information. But what happens next? Let's talk about rising action. Things start to get exciting. Every great story is like a roller coaster ride. It has exciting ups and downs that keep you hooked. The rising action is the part where the roller coaster starts climbing slowly, building up to the most exciting part of the ride. Remember the story Goldilocks and the Three Bears? The rising action starts when Goldilocks enters the empty house. She tries the chairs, eats the porridge, and even sleeps in the beds. As Goldilocks explores the house, we wonder, what will happen when the bears come home? That's the rising action making us curious and excited about what's to come. Let's dive into some cool words that are super important for understanding rising action in stories. These words will help us grasp how stories build excitement and keep us hooked. Conflict. Conflict is the problem or challenge the main character faces. It's what drives the story forward and makes us care about what happens next. For example, in the story of Goldilocks, the conflict arises when she enters the bear's house without permission. This sets the stage for all the events that follow. Tension. Tension is the feeling of excitement and worry about what might happen next. It's that edge-of-your-seat sensation that keeps us glued to the story. We feel tense wondering how the bears will react to Goldilocks. Will they be angry? Will they find her? This uncertainty keeps us engaged. Suspense. Suspense is the author's way of making us hold our breath and wonder what will happen next. It's the anticipation that something big is about to happen. The author creates suspense by describing the bears' return home in detail. We can almost hear their footsteps and feel the tension building as they get closer. These elements, conflict, tension, and suspense, work together to create a thrilling rising action that keeps us engaged in the story. They make us care about the characters and eager to find out what happens next. Understanding these elements helps us appreciate the craft of storytelling and recognize how authors keep us on the edge of our seats. So next time you read a story, look out for the conflict, feel the tension, and enjoy the suspense. Are you ready to hear some examples of rising action? Let's look at some familiar stories and their exciting rising action. These moments are what keep us on the edge of our seats, eagerly turning the pages to find out what happens next. Little Red Riding Hood. The rising action starts when Little Red Riding Hood meets the cunning wolf in the woods. This encounter sets off a chain of events that lead to the climax of the story. The wolf's deceit and Little Red Riding Hood's innocence create a tension that keeps readers hooked. The Three Little Pigs. The pigs build their houses and the wolf tries to blow them down one by one. Each attempt by the wolf to destroy the pigs' homes adds to the suspense. Will the pigs' cleverness and hard work be enough to keep them safe from the wolf's huffing and puffing? The tension builds as we wonder if the pigs will be safe. The rising action here is all about the struggle and the anticipation of what will happen next. It's a classic example of how conflict drives a story forward. Finding Nemo. Nemo gets taken from his home and Marlin sets out on a daring journey to find him, facing sharks and scary jellyfish along the way. The rising action in this story is filled with challenges and obstacles that Marlin must overcome. Each new danger he faces makes us root for him even more. Can you think of other stories and their rising action? Think about the moments in your favorite books or movies where the excitement starts to build. These are the parts that make you hold your breath and eagerly await the outcome. It's fun to see how authors use it to make their stories super exciting. Rising action is a crucial element in storytelling, and recognizing it can enhance your appreciation of the narrative. So do you want to see how the rising action looks like in a book? Listen carefully. The Case of the Missing Cookies. A mini mystery. "Where are my cookies?" Lily cried, her eyes widening in alarm. She had spent the entire afternoon baking them, carefully measuring out each ingredient and watching them turn golden brown in the oven. She had baked a batch of chocolate chip cookies just an hour ago, and now they were gone. The kitchen, which had been filled with the delicious aroma of freshly baked cookies, now felt empty and suspicious. Crumbs littered the counter, and a faint milky scent lingered in the air. It was as if someone had enjoyed a secret feast and left behind only the evidence of their crime. Lily's little brother Max was nowhere to be seen. Max, who was always around when there were cookies involved, had mysteriously vanished. He has a notorious sweet tooth. Max could never resist the temptation of cookies, especially when they were fresh out of the oven. But then she spotted something else. Tiny paw prints on the floor, leading out of the kitchen and towards the garden. These were not the marks of a human thief. Could it be? But that was impossible, wasn't it? Lily's mind raced with possibilities. Could an animal have sneaked in and stolen her cookies? So what do you think? Who stole the cookies? Was it Max, with his insatiable sweet tooth? Or was there another culprit lurking in the shadows? This is The Rising Action, and it makes us curious to solve the mystery. That's it for today. In our next video, we'll talk about the climax, the most exciting part of the story. Don't forget to like this video, share it with your classmates, and keep exploring amazing stories. See you next time!